about the planetary level, and that this is it. They cannot understand me. In order to know how to write a simple virus in assembly, you have to know first how your computer is built and works. 50 years ago, the first computers were built. They were big, they were called ENIAC, was an ENIAC operated by my mother here at the Calculus Center in Cluj. And they were made of big, tubes and things like this. They were there were no transistors or semiconductors. Actually, the first transistor was invented in 1945, but it was only applied in 1955. So there was no security at that time. You only started the computer, and the computer started. And this is also true with today's computer. In order to make a semiconductor is made of two parts: a conductor part and a non-conductive part. The non-conductive part is sand or silicon, and the conductive part is copper or another conductive material like steel or iron or something like this. No. So first you need to go to the beach and employ some servants or slaves to gather a lot of sand for you, and they melt it into a big cylinder, and then you cut the cylinder into small pies, and on each pie you inscribe with lasers like the lasers used in Blu-ray or DVDs or CDs some tracks, and these tracks will be 14 nanometer in size for the new Broadwell Intel processors. Intel could put, let us count, because every time they shrink by 50%, the area shrink twice, to 2.25 times, because if we multiply 1.5 with 1.5, we get 2.25. So each time we shrink the node from 69 nanometer to 45 to 32 to 22 to 14 to 10 to 7 to 5, we double the area, and hence we can put twice as many cores, or we can make a core two times bigger. So if my quad-core processor Q6600, and it is truly a quad-core processor, it is not like some stupid people said it is only a double core or a dual core with hyper-threading. It is a true core to quad. Core 2 means it is a second generation of core technology, and quad means it has 4 nucleus. It is a quad processor. I bought it with 850 lions. Ironically though, the launch price in 2006 was $850, but in 2007 they reduced the price to about $200, $250. So I bought it with 600 lions at reduction. We also have reductions here. We don't have many rebates, we have reductions. And it was a very capable processor for more than 7 years now, and my computer is truly old. All my hard drives have fallen now. The 1 terabyte hard drive has fallen. I have very interesting errors in Windows. Windows tell me I cannot activate Windows because the disk partition is corrupt. I cannot store your videos because this partition is corrupt. I cannot find your photos because of this. And now they cannot find even my shortcuts on the taskbar, so I have to recreate them again. And sometimes the computer starts over itself. So you have to understand that all this computer technology is 50 or 60 years old, and is based on old concepts. There was no security at that time in the 1950s. The computers were very large, and only specialized people access them. So when you start your computer, you have this large pie, and you write with the laser. You burn the silicon to create some small trenches, and then in those trenches you pour. Actually, you take the whole pie and you pour it into a copper bath, into a melted copper bath, and the copper fills the tracks, and well, you have some conducting materials. And memory is made the same way. Actually, memory is more expensive to produce than processor. A processor costs 10 or to 15 cents to produce. Memory costs $1 to $2 to produce. But processors or CPUs are sold with $1,000, while memory is sold with $100 because it has the different purposes. But one good hacker, I believe, could turn a memory module into a CPU module. So it is only a logical scheme. It is only about spirit. It is only about how you think that CPU or that thing of silicon filled with copper should act like a CPU, should it act like a flash drive, should it act like memory, like RAM. Also, there are some different technologies, because there are more lanes assigned. The motherboard is also made in the same way. It is a big semiconductor, and you have those trenches filled with copper. And if you have more lanes of copper between the processor and the memory, then the memory goes faster. And if you have fewer between the SATA controller and the processor, and then you have a SATA controller going to the flash drive, then the flash drive will go, or the SSD will go slower. So this is how a computer works. You have in BIOS. BIOS is a small memory chip called ROM, read-only memory, which can be rewritten. You can have a virus or a program to rewrite the ROM or the BIOS. The address is between 00000000H, because there are 2 bytes or a word. A word is made of 2 bytes and contains an address. And any address is made of hexa numbers. We don't deal with zeros and 1 in the real world. We deal with hexa number, and the hexa number is made of 4 bits. A byte is made of 8 bits. Therefore, any byte can contain, 2 hexa numbers. And we have 8 hexa numbers, then it means we have 4 bytes or 2 words. Yeah, so I was a little bit mistaken. And if you want to find out the maximum number of addresses which your computer can answer, we simply raise 16 at power 8, and we get 4 billion addresses. 4,294,967,296 in total. So, or 4.3 billion approximately. So this is how your computer operates. When the BIOS starts, your computer asks you which is the first hard drive. There are master and slaves hard drive. The first is master, the second is slaves, and there are 2 channels, so there can be 2 masters and 2 slaves. On the SATA, everyone is a master, everyone can be a slave. Whew. And we have now so the BIOS starts the computer. It asks you which hard drive do you want to start. You select the hard drive, or you pre-select in the BIOS, and then the system, the computer, reads the first bytes on the hard drive, where actually the partition table is located. The partition table calls the FAT, the file allocation table. The file allocation table tells the computer where the operating system files are, and so on and so forth. And you load the operating system. And there is no security involved. I am taking a bath, and I am also installing my Bitdefender software, because I have a nice virus which causes me in Windows but not on Zorin OS on this hard drive. Every time I press 0 on the left side of my keyboard, the main side, the computer acts like I pressed a macro, or I don't know. It does not write the 0, and I have to, specifically for writing 0, I have to enable numlock on the right side. So you see, the Windows system is like a virus. The kernel acts like a virus because it breaks many industry standards. It leaves all ports open, software ports and hard ports. This idea of ports came from the old ports of the ENIAC computer, and the idea of software interrupts and hardware interrupts came from the software interrupts and hardware interrupts made by the big cables of that ENIAC computer. So everything is based on that stupid technology of yesteryears. And of course we have a computer which works with punch cards and something like this, and so in order to make a virus for Windows, you have to write, or for any operating system, you have to write in the assembler language. The assembler language is very simple. There are a few commands. Mul comes from multiply. You can multiply two numbers. You write them in hexa. In order to write them in hexa, you have this nice computer in the scientific computer in Windows, and if you write the number 13, you pass then the programmer view. The programmer view, you write the number 13, and then you put it on hexa, and it is D. Why it is D? Because F is 15, E is 14, D. So in hexa we have the number from 0 to 9, and then 10 is A, B is 11, C is 12, D is 13, E is 14, F is 15, and 16 is 0, 0. So you have to know how to translate numbers into hexa. If we run the number 666 in hex, it will be 29A. So it is very simple to write a virus in the assembler language. First, we need to find the port open on the target computer. There are very simple programs which scan the ports. Usually in Windows all ports are open, so you write a line saying port 3224H in hexa. And then we simply write a program which calls what to be done. There is no gimmick. There is no need to circumvent the Linux or Unix or Windows or Mac OS X security, because all these operating systems are written in C, C++, or Java or JavaScript or another high-level language, usually in C, C++, because the efficiency is 10x, which means that the operating system is 10 times slower and occupies 10 times more resources, like than a program written in machine code in zeros and one or in hexa numbers in the base 16. We have many bases. We have bin, which is 0, 1. We have the oct base, which goes up to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is 0, 0. Yes. We have the DEC number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is 1, 0. Yeah. So in oct 10 is actually 8. In hex 10 is 16. Yeah. Whew. And you can convert it with the calculator. So we have opened the port, and then we are going to allocate a number. Let's say we allocate the number double, because integer goes on to 256. So we will write double 29AH with the small h. Actually, there is no need to write the h, because all addresses in assembler are hexa. So we write int 29A, and then we put a small space, and we write the small number, which the small address at which that number needs to be stored, the memory address. Let's say we pick the memory at the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 H, which is a very simple and very accessible memory. Actually, you have to avoid at first using the BIOS the data range or memory range, or the video BIOS memory range, or the video memory range, or the sound card memory range, or the network card memory range. There are manuals which tell you, free manuals on the internet, which tells you which memory ranges are protected by default. and then we will use the move command, which is move. We will use the move command to move from the address 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, H to another range of addresses from 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, H to 0, 0, 0, 0, F 0, 0, 0, H, where the BIOS is located. So this program has 3 lines, does 3 things. It accesses the specific port on the target computer. It allocates an integer number at the memory address, and then it moves from the memory address to a range of memory address, and it simply rewrites the BIOS. So when the target computer will start, it will not boot because all the BIOS will be corrupted. It is a very efficient virus. Actually, I had a program called the Virus Creator in assembler, with which I have made in 1991 and 1992. Very small and cute programs, also later in 95-96 programs, which did very simple things. The program asks you, do you want to corrupt the BIOS? Yes. Do you want to corrupt the partition table? Yes. Which hard drive? That hard drive. Do you want to wait for a time? There is a command called time, and you can input in hexa, for instance, if we want to wait 365.24 days, which is a year. Actually, I made a little mistake now. Just a second. Sorry, I have to clear up. Apparently, my keyboard doesn't work very well. The points and the virgule and comma do not work. Let's say 365 days to be more precise, times 24 hours per day times 60 minutes. Actually 0 does not work, so I have to input it there, times 60 seconds. We have 31,556,736 seconds in one day. Yes, we put them in M+, we switch again to programmer, we recall MR, we pass them to hexa, and we have the number 1E18480, which is the number in hexa representing those 31 million seconds. So we call the time, command, and we tell the program to wait for 1E18480 second in hexa before the program is activated. That will ensure that the target computer is infected, and it will also infect other computers before the virus is activated and wipes out the BIOS and the partition table. And these programs written in assembler, they circumvent all Unixes and Linuxes and Androids and Mac OS and Windows. I told you that before, because when you start your computer there is no security involved, so there is no antivirus program to check if the boot sector is not corrupt, if the partition table is not corrupt, if the operating system is not corrupt, if the BIOS is not corrupt. Actually, it was a very stupid question asked at a Linux seminar, because I said, oh, Linux has very strong security and every program needs to be authenticated and receive permission from the kernel. And once I asked, oh, so when the computer boots, who gives the permission to the kernel to boot? And Linus Torvalds smiled and said, well, this is done by black magic alone. So obviously there is no security involved, my friends. You can simply, take the damn computer and, throw it out of the window. But no, you have to understand that all these damages made by viruses, they are not hard damages, they are only soft damages or logical damages. The virus does not destroy a partition table, it rewrites your partition table. It does not destroy your BIOS, it rewrites your BIOS or your BIOS. So, this is how you make a virus.